do that. I'm gonna pause right here. So much And here we are, everybody. Rach. Hey, Kathy Sue. How do I love you and miss you? Do you want to know? We still, oh no, it's 11:01. I can start this. I'm so glad, right? Untying the knot of the mind. I was just looking over my notes just now thinking, what did I say I was going to talk about? Not only that, you know what else I was trying to do? I was trying to do Instagram Live at the same time, and I am so Instagram, like my mind is already shuffling through the words that I want to use before I say ignorant. I'm Instagram ignorant. I have an amazing 20-year-old who's helping me out. So if anybody needs help with Insta, IG is what the kids call it these days, let me know. I'm guessing you all can hear me. And it looks like everybody that's saying hi is on the book that is phased. So what are we doing today? I'm just up here for a little bit, talking again. I was supposed to do yesterday morning, but I was just coming off of a biggie. Hello, welcome, Lionsgate. Welcome very much. Coming off of that and some company, and I had a huge energy session right after that. And now, usually if you guys do energy work, if it's like a biggie, there's usually processing days for the one who's offering as well. And so it's just, I just need a little bit of integration. I have a lot, like I'm the only one. I got a lot going on. So that's why I postponed till today. And as you all know, right, Kathy? Right. Kathy Sue. I don't mean to just use the single. We got to do the double. Have a little H2O. I think today is about to be a fast day for me for the rest. I mean, I've had some espresso with almond milk and honey and some water and a few walnuts, and I'm just still feeling wonkalicious. So I may need to do that. So welcome everybody. Welcome replay watchers. Hello. Christine Blossom Marguerite, the Christos Blossom. So that's, overkill if you know the etymology of all those words. So I'm not even going to go into that. But hi, I've been known as the Energy Geek. I've also been known as Love Evolve Energy. A lot of that is shifting and changing as I shift and change, and that will be rolled out in the next couple of months to year. You can see some of my new stuff up there. Aligned Light is what the new iteration of my offerings will be under, but there's a transition process, so I'm doing both. Will there still be Funkalish? Yeah. I mean, that's still part of it. However, some of the other offerings I have, like on my website, they're deepening, and my process as I move into guidance sessions, energy work, play sessions, breath work, body work, meditation. What else do I have? Oh, I'm going to be entering in a little bit more intuitive reading stuff. I've abandoned that quite a bit, but that is coming back online, as well as the creativity. So if you know anything about, all y'all who know me, hey, Sheila, gorgeous, divine feminine, rages in power with her, everybody. Give Sheila healing energy, blessings, 1, 2, 3, and go for Sheila. Ooh, divine feminine running through her as we speak. Thanks for showing up. Silver Squirrel, what was I saying? A lot of the offerings that I service work that I do is deepening, and the new words for that, signifier, signet for that is aligned light. Everybody knows this who knows me, but if you don't, hi replay watchers and unfamiliars, that's what's going down in the deal. That's what's going down. That was a cute song, wasn't it? Somebody post that here. If you know that song, you know what I'm referring to. Good place to post it. So a lot of things are shifty. What's not shifty, and what is consistent throughout my entire life are a couple of things. One of those things is what I'm talking about today, and that is meditation. Yay! So that is what I will always offer. It's my foundation. Not everybody likes it or believes in it. It's certainly not the way I do, but I do. It's what's carried me through other incarnations and certainly through this one. And so there you is. And so I have a lot to say about it. So today, the theme, as I am on my bouncy ball, that I'm going to be talking about is the mind stuff. And the twisty turny, get your panties in a bunch within the mind. The knot of the mind, particularly if you have a strong mind. And everybody that I see here, it doesn't mean other people aren't going to be or are concurrently watching this. Everybody here has a strong mind. So does that mean willfulness? Perhaps. Does that mean clear, precise? You got a good seeing about what's going on you in the day-to-day? Yes. Does that also cause you troubles and problems and issues? Yeah, right? Overthinking. Narrow-mindedness? Nobody here is narrow-minded. Few people who come to me will be narrow-minded, although we can have really strong mental boundaries and a dismissive quality to our mind in terms of that which does not align within our woo perception, within our spiritual philosophies. that can cause some mental panties in a bunch as well. That's what we're going to be talking about here. Yes, it relates to spiritual practice. I will say all of that in a minute. Here's where I need like a little break so people can like get settled, tap a kidney, pull a Hoffman, and dribble some water on themselves, whatever they need to do. So it's so interesting, right? Having been a long-term committed relationship with meditation and spiritual life, you notice things. That's partly why I like to do offerings. Usually they seem to be in the summer. Last week we talked about equanimity and like just WTF is that. This is maybe part 2 of that in talking about the knots we tie ourselves in the mind. Hey, Chris, how's it going? Yeah, just do what you can. And, this will be on replay. This will be on replay for shiz. So mind stuff. There are different ways to talk about it. And in terms of talking about meditation, and if you saw 3 weeks ago now, my first in this series of talking about meditation for lightworkers, Wendy, hey, gorgeous. How's the heat in Georgia? Oh, I know it's a big transition. This is what happens, everybody. Like people I adore show up and it's all silver squirrel all over the place, which may be indication that my concentration muscle needs a little bit of work. Note to self, there we are. So where were we? When we enter meditation practice, usually first things first, you deal with what is, with what's there. And that for an embodied human, which is the other thread that has been consistent in this live stream, body, breathing, breath work, body work. My history as a dancer, movement, meditation, ecstatic dance, etc., etc. That's usually where you start. If you're strong of mind and you're tying panties in a bunch of knots within your mind, there may be some static or some interference here. And so I really want to highlight the mind stuff, which is usually secondary or tertiary when it's 11:11 East Coast. Thank you very much. When you're entering into this practice. Now, mind you, as I'm talking about awareness of mind, meditation of mind, it may be outside of the ken of the woo or light workers. I will talk about it today. Talk being a mental activity, channeled through the mind stuff and training of the mind. I'll talk about it from different points of view. One of my points of view is a more traditional Buddhist practice, Theravadan Buddhism. I also go into a little bit of Vajrayana Tibetan Buddhism as well. But what is near and dear to my heart, and that with which I've had a lot of benefit and clarity, energy's moving, you guys. Wow. Is the Theravadan Buddhism. How we know about Theravadan Buddhism in vernacular culture is the word mindfulness. Your mindfulness techniques come from either Thai forest tradition or some other Theravadan tradition. Are they Zen? Meh. You might go into Zen if you go in a little bit deeper, but ye old traditional mindfulness techniques that everybody's talking about these days have their roots in this tradition. Yay, right? How awesome. If you're a yogi, you know what this feels like, right? There's like, giggle yoga, goat yoga, and painting and yoga and blah, 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 stuff like that. Maybe it's watered down for the masses, and maybe mindfulness is watered down for the masses. I kind of, with a broader point of view, I'm okay with that. Do I get my mental panties in a bunch about it? Because it's kind of like, having the Christian Eucharist outside of the whole Roman Catholic Mass. It's just kind of weird. It's just kind of weird. Kind of beneficial. Hopefully it will give you a taste of what the rest of the tradition you're steeped in is. Maybe not. Maybe not. This is all preface to my point of view of talking about the knot of a strong mind, not the NOT, which may be another meditation, no consistent sense of self, anatta in Pali term. No, that's not what we're addressing today, although if you have strong interest, I can. And it is related. What I am talking about is the KNOT, the sailor's knot, the KNOT. All right, I've been talking to Blue Streak. Hopefully we're all kind of on the same page about what we're addressing today so far. Maybe not. Let's find out. The knot of the mind. I unpacked that for myself rather personally in the writing above. If you're on the book that is face, if you're on the tube that is you, it will be the writing below. The intro paragraph. Some of how I process the things. At a certain point within your meditation practice, earlier or later, you'll be guided to pay attention to the activity of mind. Perhaps you'll address it earlier if the activity of your mind is raging or is really strong. Is it a storm? If there's a storm, that usually means there's a tighter knot, the eye of the storm. Perhaps. Usually the eye of the storm is rather peaceful. So perhaps the chaos initially surrounding the peacefulness that are just spinning into a tizzy, the stuff of the mind. So what am I speaking about when I say the stuff of the mind? When we're approaching that within a meditation practice. For a human, typically, it's going to be visual stuff or auditory stuff. Stuff is vernacular. Just stay with me here. Stuff of the mind. There's the auditory, the hear, your hearing, your ears. This sense gate of ears perceives your external world. It also, because our mind, our translation unit, transmitting and translation, understanding unit, uses this sense gate externally to translate what's happening in your external world. It also has, and that would be your outer world. There's also, because your mind has been trained to understand auditory hearing, auditory stimulus and stimuli, it will begin to understand inner hearing. That arises in terms of words, sentences, paragraphs, speech, inner dialogue. We'll just call that inner dialogue, inner music. Sometimes in a meditation, songs will appear. That's herein, hearing internally. P.S. On the 28th, which is a Saturday, we're going to be doing a day long, addressing a lot of these techniques of how to be with, hone your capacity to be with the herein. Really keen for light workers, right? What is your inner dialogue, and what is dialogue you're receiving in your internal world from, say, if you're doing mediumship or if you're channeling spirit? Really important to be clear. What is your higher self? What is your own mind? What is your Christining? What is your Racheling, your Christophering, your Wendying, your Sheilaing, your Kathy Suing? A sense of self, which can be completely dismantled, but that's a whole other conversation and another day. Stuff of the mind, showing up as internal talk, as internal dialogue. What is yours? What is not yours? What are you perceiving from somebody else on the inner realms? Mind stuff can be turned into a knot there. Simply by paying attention to, one gains clarity with, and can begin to unravel the inner dialogues. I'll get to that in a minute. Let's move to the other kind of mind stuff, which would be visual. Eyes open, one sees through the sense gate of eyes the outer world, perceiving the outer world. Sight consciousness. Turned inward, eyes closed perhaps. Interesting thing, initial eyes closed, you'll see flashing lights. It may be a blank screen. You'll see reverse colors. If there was a blue, externally, you'll see a red. Curiously enough, that would still be considered see external, see out. Your eyes are still in the habit. Move with me on this, people. Your eyes are still in the habit, and it really is a habit. Did I say it 3 times? Let's do it a 4th. Habit, 5th, habit, 6th. Habit of perceiving externally, perceiving out. So the initial closing, it's still a wash in that training. As you relax, for example, moving into a dream state, eventually that habit begins to rest, and the activity of the mind activates. Dreams, dream state, daydreams. For those of us who can call up easily the inner workings of mind, it will be movies and pictures, colors. If I say to you, tomato, red big boy tomato, you may taste it, which is a whole other gustance we're not talking about today, but you might see it. Or if I say apple, or if I say, I don't know, toilet brush, you'll get a visual image, impression. Unless it's right in front of you, it will be called up into your internal visual state. If your eyes are open, interesting thing. You will have a see out, it may fuzz over, and a see in at the same time. Or you may need to close your eyes and an image will appear. Somebody may request that you envision the future. It may roll out, envision in images, movies. It may, or envision a memory, which implies, and you may infer, past. Something imagistic will play out in front of you. A snippet, a long movie, I don't know. It's interesting that we have words for a movie now, right? That was not true 200 years ago or less. Moving pictures, memory. That too is stuff of the mind. And if you're working as a light worker in the woo, are these your histories and images? Are they others' histories and images? Interesting thing, if you're communicating with spirit, whether through mediumship or mediumship of a multidimensional guide, they may use your natural imagistic vocabulary to communicate with you. Interesting. Or you may get pictures and images that you've never seen before. So you're open to create more vocabulary there, or receive other images. Everybody has different skills in these things. My see in, see out tends to be super keen. So maybe I can talk about it a little bit more. Anyway, so do we have a sense now of the see in mind stuff of images, mind stuff of dialogues that happen in the mind? You can get twisty turny within your internal images as well. So I'm calling all of this knots of the mind, repeating over and over again. You engage over and over again. Let's give an example, because I think that is the easiest way to understand the theory and philosophy of these things. So an event happened. Because I'm using past tense, it's only something that can be recalled and dragged up into your present moment, right? Mind stuff not. And it was created, it happened in your past, in this time, space, reality timeline. Something occurred. Your mental, emotional, your mind took a picture, and heard some words or some dialogue and recorded that. That is part of the job of a brain. Part of your brain records things deep in your unconscious, subconscious. There may be a part of you that in your present moment recalls these things, if you're able to bring these things into consciousness. If you have a trauma, capital T or small t trauma, whole other conversation. It may be something worth dragging into your present time awareness with somebody who's skilled with that. Anywho, within your present time awareness, things arise in your mind, in your herein and see in. The assumption is, if you tumble it over and over and over again, like in a rock tumbler or a dryer or washing machine, using the tools of mind, the activity of perception of thought, which can be auditory or visual, if you keep it tumbling in the mind, it will unravel itself. Using the same tools with which you grasped that past present moment, you understood that past present moment as this understanding through dialogue and meaning, this understanding through visual and meaning. You took a snapshot, you understood it emotionally, a resonance, glommed on to that mind stuff. So here you are with this tight little knot of a rock within your mind, and you're using the same tools to try to unravel it. If I just think about this enough, if I just visualize it over and over and over again, if I just, with the same thought patterns, the same dialogue, with meaning, with the same emotional stuff, I just ram at it and batter at it over and over again, it will unravel. There will be freedom. There will be understanding. Energetically, This is rarely the case in my experience. Within the meditative understanding, and even within many psychological approaches, the understanding is not helpful. Helpful to see it clearly, helpful to understand it. So what happens then? What happens then? Then the work happens. So let's take a little break here and let's see if there's capiche with how a mind knot, KNOT, is created and rests there somewhere in the mental body until it can be addressed. Yeah. So is that understood how these knots are created? Hey, Alyssa. We're a little bit further on here, ladies. So listen back or just catch up. We're about to get to the good stuff. The unraveling of the knot, KNOT. So what I unpacked here is one view, one approach, one unpacking of how the knots of the mind are created. Through an example, there are so many different ways to talk about it. This is one example of how to describe a KNOT of the mind. And I can see at least one other person here who may have another way of talking about it. Some of these knots of mind could be inherited. There could be an implant from your culture or from another culture in the stars. Would those be KNOT knots? Maybe, maybe not. Until they're unraveled and unpacked for usefulness, they could be. I'm trying to talk about the woo in a little bit more practical terms, in terms of history, in terms of what may arise for you on the cushion or your seat or the mat or wherever you choose to do your meditative techniques. Sweet. So let's move on. So as Rachel was talking, or Rachel shared just now, as was shared just now, visual stuff starts to arise in a meditative state. You know you've bumped into a KNOT when you say, ouch. Oh, this is not uncomfortable, nothing shifting. Because what I'm gleaning and inferring from what was offered here, when I sit in to practice meditation, all kinds of visual stuff begins to arise. When I hear that, what I'm hearing is flow. What I'm hearing is movement. Movement would be an opposite or distinct from a KNOT, a knot. When we have trained ourselves to sit with openness, kindness, patience, equanimity, shall we say, in a meditative state, we may plop on our cushion, breathe, feel, get into the flow, and bear witness to, move with equanimity into whatever arises. Kind awareness, witness consciousness, equanimous presence with the KNOTs of the mind stuff, visual or auditory, is what unravels the knot. In brief. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. If we've trained ourselves when there are not when there isn't a lot of mind stuff arising, to be in a calm, equanimous, peaceful witness consciousness state with all things that arise. Then when the hard knots, the big sticky stuff comes up with lots of clinging and lots of aversion and lots of stickiness, until there's all kinds of twisty, turny panties in a bunch, knotted mind stuff, we may have acquired the habit of peacefulness and bearing witness to this. And it may wrestle and it may churn. You can throw a whole bunch of light at it, perhaps that will soften it if you're an energy worker. The light of consciousness, the light that comes with equanimous witnessing, is sufficient light. Sufficient calm, peaceful kindness to bear witness to it, to help it melt, to help it unravel. Here's the thing. When you're bearing witness to the mind stuff, on occasion, a knot of the mind, a knot of auditory, a knot of visual will arise. And you're going to go, Yahoo, I'm going along for the ride. And you're going to jump on that bandwagon, and you're going to abandon your calm, peaceful, equanimous state, and you're going to jump onto it. And then you're going to tie the knot into tighter and tighter knots and twisty turnies. And you're going to keep thinking about it, and you're going to be like, yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah, ride that Bronco down into the ground. And you're wondering why in your meditative state nothing is getting solved, because therein lies the practice. At some moment when you're riding the bucking bronco of memory with all its stories and all its emotionality, all its visuals and all its dialogues, you're going to say, whoa, wait a minute, bucking bronco. I have an opportunity. I have a choice. I can keep doing this, or I can say, whoa, I'm doing this. I'm getting panties tied in a bunch. There's a big knot happening here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. You keep bucking. I'm going to bear witness to you. I'm going to bear witness to you. I'm going to bear witness to you. I'm going to bear witness to the mental state that kicks up a sticky emotion. I'm going to bear witness to the mental state of dialogue and the mental state of pictures that kick up this emotion, because I am not that emotion, and I am not that those words, and I am not that memory. I bore witness to that in the past, and I clamped down on it with these emotions. Now I have enough equanimous kindness to watch the visuals and attendant emotions and the words and sounds and the attendant emotions. I watch them arise. I watch the stuff of mind. The mind stuff arises. The mind stuff arises, and it says, I dare you to not jump on my bandwagon. And the kind mind of equanimous awareness giggles and says, I know, I've always jumped on your bandwagon, and now I'm not going to do that anymore. So you keep bucking that bronco, you keep going, and I'm going to bear witness to all of this selfing, to all of this mind stuff. By resting in everything we talked about last week and the week before, and in If Your Body of Design, we've been talking about all along. if I can rest and trust in this and not try to figure anything out, not try to think it to death, to feel it to death, to watch it to death, and believe it to death. If I can just sit back and say, yep, that happened. Yep, those thoughts. Yep, those emotions. Yep, those visuals. And let it move. It's gonna move. It's gonna move. Not an easy thing to do at times. Some of our identity and who we believe ourselves to be. I am the person who is angry. I am the person who covers up my pain and my anger and sadness and hurt with kindness, with overkindness. This is who I am. I am attached to this I aming. Don't tell me to bear witness to this and let go of it. That's a scary thing. Fear. Witnessing fear. So much of our identity in the Western world is tied up into a belief in our mind. I am that which I think. I am that which I hear internally. I am my inner dialogue, and I am my internal images. If you say so, if you say so, if you say so, or, and, that is true, and, maybe also, I am the wider consciousness which bears equanimous kind witness to the arisings of my selfing, the KNOT of self. I could just as easily entitled this today's chat, Unraveling the Knot of Self. Unraveling the knot of I aming. Because indeed, most of the time, your selfhood has everything to do with the activity of mind, of who you think you are, who you see that you are. Those activate repetitively and become a belief. Your belief is predicated upon things that you think repeatedly, the activity of the mind in its habits. Do you need to understand everything that arises? Really great question from the gallery. You decide. You have a choice. You have a choice. Is it important? I can't answer that question for you. Your small you and your big you. Your small I am and your big I am. I don't know. And if you think your big I am is the end, it's not. Because at a certain point, your witness consciousness, the expanded consciousness in which you can merge, will see your capital I am, is but a step in consciousness on which you can bounce up and expand outward into the next thing. There's always more. There's always more. It does not end. It's I ams all the way up and all the way down. And endlessness. There's endlessness in this. The endlessness ends outside of this ing. If you are able to step outside of this, of I am. There is no this, there is no time, there's no I am. There is no endlessness. Endlessness doesn't exist because there's no beginning and end. That's a whole other conversation that we don't even need to talk about. Yeah, man, don't do that. Put my I am in the box. I wicked dig. I wicked dig your I am in, Kathy Sue. We start with the easy stuff with equanimity. It's like a muscle. As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, there are three main skills to, can you master them? The mastering of them are endless. These aren't skills of the heart. These are skills of training skillful mind. The ability to concentrate, the ability to perceive accurately through your sense gates. And that is what we will be doing an entire day-long meditation. Register for that. I hope I put it somewhere in the feed, up above or below. The entire Saturday of the 28th of August, we're just going to be honing, hearing, inner dialogue of the mind, inner visual of the mind. Other things as well, the taste, the smell, the feels of body and heart. The third skill is equanimity, the strength of equanimity. Start with light weights. I would highly recommend with light weights, not the big stuff, until you get a taste of it, until you build a little strength, until eventually you can really move into trigger practice, into something that's triggering, because your equanimity is that strong. If you find yourself overwhelmed with triggers and your life is big, I mean, welcome Lionsgate, right? Welcome 2020 and 2021. Start with the easy things. For example, can you be in an equanimous, kind place with pleasant things and not attach to them and wish they wouldn't go? And simply let the pleasant arise and then pass away. Now you could strain yourself with a 100-pound equanimity dumbbell, and who wants to be in Bellevue, right? Like, I mean, beautiful view for sure, Bellevue, but I mean, why do that? I don't know. I don't know how that's really helpful or beneficial for any light worker, And when I talk about trigger practice, really what I'm talking about is going into shadow work full on. Go in with some skills. I would say go in with some skills. And that's a wise thing to do. If you find yourself in the middle of shadow work, that was true for me about 3 years ago. I just stepped into the deep end. For some of us, that's how we do it. We step into the deep end. The wise thing to do then is to give yourself breaks and hunt for the positive. Just don't meditate for a month. Eat ice cream sundaes or like carrots and hummus. Go to the zoo, play in the park, do puzzles, binge watch on Netflix. In an equanimous state, nothing is bad. It's simply useful or not useful. Does a shot of whiskey benefit you? Only you know if it's going to snowball into addiction. If that's true for you, then probably not useful. Maybe your thing is having gluten-free chocolate chip or carob cookies, right? You might poop for 3 days because of the carob, but perhaps that's your healthy avoidance. Healthy avoidance exists, people. It's not a dirty word. It's useful at times. A shot of whiskey, if you're not an addict, can be helpful. Not talking to your family members or your ex, helpful. Not avoidance, useful avoidance. Because what we're doing is evolving the entirety of things. When nothing is bad, when nothing has that judgment on it, when we're just looking at useful, not useful, helpful, not helpful, it's okay. If you're in the deep end, go on meds. Girl, dude, go on meds. No judgment. Useful, not useful. Keeping the entire system well and safe. Useful, very useful. No judgments, people. I can't tell you what to do. You decide. If you don't know, find and attract somebody to you that can tell you something. There you go. Useful, not useful. Will the positive things launch you into an equanimous state? They will give you enough of a wedge from the shadow and the dark, icky stickies. Can somebody write that down? The dark, icky stickies? Because that's really what shadow can be, especially if it's a trigger. Dark, icky, sticky. It can give you a wedge. It can throw you a life preserver so that you can float for a while, so that you can eventually start lifting little 3-pound, 5-pound, 10-pound weights while you're in the life preserver. These are crazy images, right? So you can start activating and start to get a taste for the muscle of equanimous states. Eventually, you're not going to need the life preserver. Eventually, your equanimity will grow from 10-pound weights to 25-pound weights to 50-pound weights to hunk and 100-pound weights of equanimity. And then you can say to the shadow, bring it, bring it, bring it. Because your equanimity is strong. And if it gets too much, you're like, peace out. Too much shadow. Not helpful. Helpful. Taking a nap. This is skillful light worker activities, everybody. Skillful practice on your cushion. Off your cushion. Taking your cushion work off the cushion. Skillful practice. Not avoiding. Not spiritual bypassing. Keeping you sane and functioning and safe with awareness. That is all, people. That is all. This is how we unravel the knots of I aming, the knots of selfing, and the knots of the mind. Hopefully that was clear. My view, which is just one way, and approaching what is mind stuff. What is contained within mind? What are those activities and what are the sense gates associated? How are they sticky? Why do they get sticky? Why do we attach to things? How that is all related to sticky work, to shadow work, to the deeper work that is done. Our antidote, our helpful skill that we start easy and slow, being the calm, clear, equanimous witness consciousness. And there are endless iterations, evolutions, and expansions of that again and again and again. Don't fence me in. as they say. Thank you, Gene Autry. That's what we spoke of today. How to be with, how to cultivate, perhaps, quantum states. I believe that I've posted it here somewhere on some of these things, and I'll add it into the feed below or above. What's coming up for me, what I'm offering here is not a workshop on equanimity, not a day-long retreat on equanimous states, because I have talked endlessly about it and I have a lot of guided meditations on it. So what I think I might do is compile all of them, compile a list so that people can refer to it. Many of you know that I have a Podia site, and I have some of my group healing sessions for sale there. If you weren't able to attend things, I've carved out little bits and pieces that can be helpful for you, even if you weren't in the group session. So that's what's there. Other things as well. And so what I may do just as a freebie, it's not a paid. Although the retreat is $25, so come to that. The retreat is, I always have to do this because I have issues with 6s and 8s. So let me see. Yeah, Saturday the 28th. I was right. We'll be doing a day-long retreat. We will be working at honing the sense gates. Do you need concentration strength to do that? Sure. Do you need equanimity to do that? Sure. Is equanimity and concentration power strengthened by honing the sense gates? Yes. Yes, it is. So that's why I'm starting there. I believe it's how I got deeper and deeper into my intuitive gifts, was by paying attention to the sense gates. And so I offer that in a day-long retreat. Thank you, Sheila. Oh, I'm so glad. I'll put more things up there as well. They're super affordable, especially if you can't afford a one-on-one session with me. These are ways to get some of how I approach things. And they could really work for you. I'm not the only energy worker out there. I'm not the only energy worker who also understands meditation out there. However, I do have a lot of skill and experience under my belt, and how I speak and approach these things may be resonant with you. And so here I am. Come find me. So as I was saying, it's nice to talk about these things here in these sessions that I'm doing on Wednesdays, usually Wednesdays. I know it's Thursday. It'll be next Wednesday, promise. Almost promise. We'll see what happens. During a weekday. On YouTube, on my YouTube page or channel, I guess it's called, and here on my Facebook business page. What we will be doing in the retreat is honing the sense gates. What I talked about today, and I have other things that I'll post here about how to practice, how to lift weights, small weights of equanimity, witness consciousness. I'll put them in a group, and I'll put them different places so you guys can have easy access to them. It's not necessary. Maybe eventually, if there's enough interest, we'll do a day long to hone the skills of that. Because as you move into it, you may have questions specific to you about, this is what's happening. How do I work with this? How do I hone the practice of equanimity when the knot of the mind and the self is really tight, when my panties are super in a bunch? How do I do this? So that could merit a day long. But chose differently. What I chose was to, on the 28th, we'll do this. We're going to start in the morning and go to the afternoon. I do have a schedule, which I can post somewhere, just so you know. I am working on East Coast time. And so East Coast time, and it will be recorded. So if you sign up for the retreat and you can only do portions of it, you will have sent to you or a place to access all of the chats. We will move through the different sense gates, the auditory sense, the visual sense, the sense of feels, which is physical touch, proprioception, and the internal feels, which is your emotional body. And we'll work a tiny bit with scent and taste as well. So we'll move through the day focusing and honing and spending specific time with each. I mean, indeed, we could spend an entire weekend or an entire week honing again and again all of these. And girl, let me tell you, your sense gates would get quite clear. The benefit is not only do you get to clean them out, but within cleaning them out, the sort of purgation and clarity, you really get to sharpen them and hone them for yourself. And that's the purpose. I found that that's how my intuitive capacities, my clairs, as we like to call them, clairvoyance, clairaudience, et cetera, clairsentience, gustance, et cetera, how they honed, how I clarified and sharpened them is simply through the techniques that we'll be using, simply paying attention. Something interesting happens in a group as well, which is why I like teaching in groups and doing group energy work and doing classes and this day long, which is a group. I'm guessing it's going to be about 5 or 6 of us. I have a limit of 55 people. I don't think it's going to be that, although I could be surprised. Right now, I just heard like 20. We'll see. I mean, it's 2 weeks away. Like, tell your friends, but I don't know how many people will be actually interested. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So on my website, you can sign up for it. It's 25 clams for the day. We will meet briefly Friday evening. That will be pre-recorded and sent to everybody because some people can do Friday night, some people can't. So it's helpful. Friday night will just be the overview. And then Saturday we'll dig in and we'll go through bit by bit. I believe that we'll start with the feels, and then progress through the different ones, and review, et cetera. So there'll be evening sessions. There'll be morning sessions, afternoon sessions, and one evening session. It's a day long. It's all day. It's intense. So clear your docket. Join me for bits or parts, whatever you can do. That would be great. And if there's financial difficulty, but you really, really are digging it and want to do it, let me know. We'll figure something out. All right. That's all I have for you all today. I got other things to do right now. All right. So peace and love to all of you. Thank you for coming and showing up. This weekend, on Sunday and Monday, Awakening the Body Deva, water element. Oh, I'm so pumped because that is so me. I'm so excited about that. So we're going to be doing that Sunday. I think it'll show up here. It'll show up in Soulful Connections and someplace on YouTube. And then Monday, sign up. We're doing a group energy session with the water element. It's going to be so cool. I love that. All right. All the links are on this page and on my website. Check it out. Gay Miller. Hey, lady, you guys, I just hung out with Gay for a weekend. So enlivening, right, Gay? So amazeballs. All right. I love you guys. I got to run to my next thing. So much love and joy and peace to you. Thank you for being with me today. Mwah! Love you muchly. I'm going to do a little song and dance for you as we leave. Here we go. Love you.